host Utah. It'll be right here on Fox Sports West Prime Ticket. Paul George. They're signing that nice extension.
Nice.
Like I said earlier,
Nice.
you think it's nice?
Nice.
What's a better word for nice? What is it?
Lovely.
Lovely. I just bought a new thesaurus, and it's terrible and terrible.
That sounds like user error to me. You know what I mean? Seriously.
I think that might be a jump grenade. I'll explain it later.
Okay.
They're going to stop here for just a second. The two teams are going to go back to their respective corners. We have a shot clock situation happening on the side of the Clippers, but it is a chance to talk about the extension. You know, it's interesting. Some players get affected by money and some don't. And I always felt the players that were there strictly to win never get bothered by the large contract. They never feel the need to play to it. They're always trying to be their best.
Well, you know, and that's a good assessment, too, because everybody, each individual values the money differently in what they do. Everybody is not the same, so you can't just paint the broad brush and say, okay, this player loves the game and he won't be affected by money, which is not true. Or the opposite, you know, and each player has their own, I guess, thinking process when it goes into, okay, I'm a free agent or I'm about to sign, you know, a long-term huge contract, okay? How will that affect me mentally, physically? How will I approach the game? All those things are individual. So we can only tell what's going to happen by Paul George as moving forward, but kind of knowing the kind of person he is and what he wants to prove, the money is there. But for him, he talked about legacy. We're not going to judge him on how much money he made. He's going to be judged on wins and losses. So that's what he's focused on.
You've heard players say they've been exhilarated by the money in terms of the way they were playing. You've heard players getting sick after signing. Tyler Johnson got sick in Miami after he got a 5-year, $50 million deal. I would love the opportunity. That's all I'm asking for, to feel what it's like to have $50 million coming my way.
Let me
Jim.
tell you something, man. It is.
I'm going to rely on you to help me out.
Well, I didn't get it. I can tell you that much. But, you know, it's all relative because when I came in the league, the salaries that we were getting were above and beyond what the veteran players were getting. You know, at one point, I was making more money than Michael Jordan, okay, with my first deal. But so it's all relative in regards to the situation. So the money that we were fortunate to make back then seemed like big money, just like it is right now. Now, it wasn't the extra zeros that, you know, the young men are getting today, but I understand what that feels like when you're able to kind of quote unquote break the bank.
The finances are one part. I think for Clipper fans, the front office, it's the length of contract that allows him to be here for an extended period of time. And I really, truly loved his quote when he was asked, what does he owe the Clippers? He owes them a trophy, work to be done. We have the shot clock fixed, and we are ready to get this one underway. Ball is up, game is on. Lakers win the tap. They'll have it to open up the fourth quarter as well. Talen Horton-Tucker, who was not shy in game one and looked very good in the process, controls for the Lakers, and now they go inside to Markieff Morris, his brother on the sideline. We'll talk more about senior a little bit later. Morris opens up with the jumper, knocks it in. Lakers draw first blood.
Nice little easy basket inside. And talked about Tucker for the Lakers. LeBron, one of his biggest fans. So when you have the king advocating for you, probably going to be in pretty good standing.
Well, he said he is special, beyond special, I think was his exact words. Speaking of special, Paul George waltzes down the lane and lays it in.
And I like when Paul mixes it up, you know, puts it on the deck. He caught it kind of in the kill zone right there at the free throw line, was able to get one dribble and get right down the lane for a little running.
This is Horton-Tucker, again, this time shouted by Ibaka, the shot clock into single digits. Gasol in the corner, very gifted center offensively and defensively, former defensive player of the year. Don't tell that to LeBron. He claims the trophy that he should have won back in 2013 is his.
Yeah.
He may have a case. Ibaka gets it to a wide open Batum. He holds the finish. Doesn't help, and the rebound is smothered by Gasol.
Well, you know, and Batum may have missed that shot, but that shot was created because of Serge, because of his ability to shoot. See defense right there and a bad foul right there. But because they had to focus in on him, Batum was open for the shot. And talked about Paul George, a little curl play right here at the free throw line. Now, for all offensive players, the less dribbles you need to get to the basket, you use it. He got there, and then right here, Serge wishing he can take that foul back.
Clippers last year were third in three-point fouls committed in the league.
You know what that says, too, is that the closeouts were late, okay? Because a lot of times, like Serge that time, was off balance in regards to his weight moving forward. And once you're committed in the air like that, especially that big, there's no stopping you from running into your opponent.
The Lakers get the 4-point play. And lead by 4. This is the second possession here for the Clippers. Leonard. Horton Tucker swipes the ball away from that vice grip-like handle that Kawhi Leonard has. Lakers get it on the turnover. 2 minutes off this first quarter clock. We saw him picked up after a year and a half in Toronto that got him a championship ring, and there he is. Horton Tucker knocking down another shot, and a timeout comes the way for Ty Lue and the Clippers. 2 minutes, 10 seconds have clicked off the first quarter clock. Lakers lead 9-2.
Finney-Smith to inbound. Back to Doncic. Doncic pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer!
Let's go! What a performance by Luka and the Mavericks. Mamas, there goes that man.
We are witnessing the next great star in the NBA in his first playoff series.
Clock at 7. Working against Butler, got downhill, couldn't punch it. Bam says, get it out of here. Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection. That's why he's NBA All-Defensive Team. Bam Adebayo went airborne with Jason Tatum, and Adebayo won.
Looking for expiring deals to be able to clear the deck for moves just like this.
Well, management did their job. They put the tools in place on the bench and on the court to solidify their stance. So the ultimate goal is winning the championship. So now it's on the players, coaching staff, to kind of right the ship, so to speak.
Management has done their job and then some over the last couple of years. Bump going up. Paul George draws the foul, and he'll go to the free throw line.
How about this? If you're Ty Lue, hopefully history can repeat itself. And what I mean by that is that Coach Frank Vogel was the 4th coach in the last 6 seasons to win the title in his first season. Okay, joining like Steve Kerr. Ty was a part of that, Lue, and Nick Nurse. So could this be kind of a continuation of that kind of pattern? The team is here. A lot of steps to have to take, but he's been there and done that before.
You know, again, and you bring that up because he stepped into a, I would imagine, as tough of a situation as you could go to, in the sense of he was the assistant coach in Cleveland, gets bumped up midseason after a win. You're leading the Eastern Conference, and oh, by the way, you're coaching the best player of the generation. He embraced those expectations. They've got high expectations, high hopes here for this. He's been through those fires.
Well, the part of it was the big part. We talked about this the other game. See Paul George with the hustle right here, and Patrick Beverly gets knocked down by Caldwell Pope. But it was the trust factor that Coach Lue had as an assistant coach on the bench that allowed him to transfer over to the head seat. You see Paul George right there without any interference or any backlash off of that. And I think it's the same thing that's going to transpire here with the Clippers.
Beverly for 3. Clippers 1 for 4. They struggled from the field, so too did the Lakers. Most teams shot around 35%. Clippers just could not hold on to the basketball. Good move by Caldwell Pope. He'll draw the second foul in shooting a 3 in the first 3 minutes of this first quarter.
Yep, out of position that time. Once again, Paul George versus with Serge Ibaka. And, you know, right now we're in the preseason. See that lunge forward right there? There's nothing you can do about it. So little things that you work on trying to get your continuity back on the defensive end, to stay patient. That's what preseason is for.
No LeBron James, no Anthony Davis for the Lakers, as Paul George discussing it. One-sided conversation with the officials. Caldwell Pope at the free throw line for the Lakers, and understandably so. He said once the season ended, I did not touch a basketball until the first day of camp. And to put into perspective how quickly of a turnaround this is for the Lakers, really for the Heat as well, because they were down there. The Lakers have been back here out of the bubble for 61 days. They were in the bubble for 95 days. So they're trying to reacclimate. There's clearly some championship haze going on, which is human nature. Challenging spot for the Lakers, but it's the best problem in NBA history to try to recalibrate after winning a title.
All day long. You know, and I know LeBron James probably didn't pick up a ball, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't doing anything with his body to stay in shape.
Beverly gets a great look in the corner for three late in the clock and rips the cords, and the Clippers trail now by 4.
Well, I mean, we talked about it in the last broadcast. He improved his three-point shooting last year to 43%, so he can knock it down when his feet get set.
Horton Tucker slings it to Kuzma, and it goes through the 5-hole and out of bounds.
Well, just a dribble penetration, Kawhi, and smartly, Beverly relocates to the open spot in the corner, confidently steps up. Knocks in that open three.
Kawhi averaged a career high in assists last year. The coaching staff raved about his playmaking skills a year ago. Here is Leonard. Kawhi draws a crowd and throws it away. Caldwell Pope left alone. Throws it down. Pope's having a little run here in this first quarter. He now has 7 of the 12 for the Lakers.
Combined last game, I think it was 42 turnovers between the two teams, majority by the Clippers too, but that time a little miscommunication with Kawhi. I think it might have been Batum up top.
Not only with the turnovers, but both teams really got to work on their rebounding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Horton Tucker into Gasol. Knocked out of his hands, but the Lakers maintain possession. 9 to shoot. Gasol so good in that high post area with the feet. Caldwell Pope finds Horton Tucker for the tray, and now it's a 15-6 lead for the Lakers.
And that makes it challenging because he's such a pressure release point, because he can shoot the shot right there, but he also, the decision making, he's very adept at it.
Another giveaway for the Clippers, their 4th. Horton Tucker for 3. It spins off the iron. Kawhi. Clippers 2 for 6. Lakers are 5 for 7. Beverly has one of those made shots. Baca with the rebound, shoves off on his one-time teammate. Whistle foul against the Clippers. We've got a timeout on the floor. 6:46 to play in this first quarter. You see the foul underneath. It'll be Laker ball when we return. They lead 15-6. Lakers 5 of 7 from the field. Back to Staples after this.
Got to get one up quick. Gordon, shot fake, puts it on the deck, and it's knocked away by Caruso. Up ahead, Rondo all the way. LeBron James throws it down. That was risky in this game. Man, this was ill-advised. Lakers have a chance to take the lead now. Down a point. Fine by LeBron. Anthony Davis sprinting down the floor.
Look at Nurkic as he's walking down. You can't see him right here, but look at that. Just whipping it past Nurkic like my fault.
The most career 30-plus point playoff games. And LeBron James tonight, his 116th, which is number 1.
He'll take a 3. LeBron James will hit a 3.
Wow.
Oh, how about it? LeBron James.
Tell you what, LeBron James, he's done it in so many ways. Leave it. That's what he does, the follow through. You think he knows what time it is?
It's down 11. LeBron, a spin.
I believe we're truly going to see a healthier Paul George that now becomes available to play multiple games, more minutes, and that number that we see hopefully will be doubled up in line with the other top 3.
You saw the number when they play. They're very, very good. That's why this preseason is so important, I think. It might be the preseason. The Clippers aren't playing very well, but to have these guys out on the floor together is big. Speak of the devil, here comes Paul George. Runs into Caldwell Pope. For not having touched the ball for 2 months, Caldwell Pope looks pretty good. Quinn Cook in the corner for 3, and he knocks it in. He was a 6 start for the Lakers.
But, you know, when you have a live ball turnover like that, your defense is not going to be set in the backcourt, and hence you have a 2-on-1. So just right now, the Clippers are sloppy with the basketball in their play early, hence the Lakers are taking advantage of it.
Paul George answers with a 3 of his own, just the third made shot for the Clippers. Midway through this first quarter, second preseason game for both. Kuzma moving well without the ball, lays it in, 20-9 Lakers.
Beautiful pass that time by Gasol. Nice little curl screen, but again, you got to put pressure on Marc Gasol to not just allow him to have freedom just to pick you apart.
Two practice foes in Toronto, and Ibaka misses everything.
Yeah.
Lakers 7 of 9, a far cry from what they did on Friday. Another layup inside for the Lakers.
Yeah, same thing. I know Gasol is taller, don't get me wrong, but that little space allows him to zip that pass unimpeded right inside. Caldwell Pope.
Batum holds the finish again and gets the results he wants. Cuts the lead down to 10. First bucket for Nicholas Batum.
Man, I like to see that. I like to see the step back with confidence. Don't even think about it. Open, shooting pocket, let it go.
He's in the starting lineup. I'm going to go out on a really short limb to say it is for the Marcus Morris Sr. position. They're looking at Marcus Morris. Just a sore knee, experienced it down in the bubble, rested rehab, and they're optimistic he won't be out very long. Kawhi chased around by Cook. Nice little pocket pass to Ibaka. Great ball movement here by the Clippers. George in attack mode. Gets it back to Ibaka, and he lays it in. Put that one in the highlight reel for the film room.
Well, you know, but look on the court. You have 5 players who can space the floor. So now you're not going to be kind of just finagled all into the lane. That opened up the pass and the drive, and then ultimately getting that shot up.
Cook misses inside. Here comes Kennard back behind the defense. Gets it to George, wide open for 3, and now the Clippers start to pick up a little bit of momentum. 22-17, and the Clippers now on a roll. Hey, how about Paul George? 3 for 3, 9 points for George, and the Clippers with some momentum.
Well, again, you don't turn the ball over, you get shots at the rim. This is just dribble penetration, surge inside, and great ball movement, spacing. Clippers able to knock in the 3, down 5, and making a run.
Hero with 7 to shoot. Hero, long three-pointer. Bang! Tyler Hero from way downtown.
At this timeout, they have to give him an honorary first-team All-Rookie. I want him brought out to half court and given first-team All-Rookie.
Here in the opening quarter. And a steal by Butler, stepping in front of Giannis, and he slams it on the other end.
Turn up to get in passing lanes, to create deflections. He makes the deflection with the lead hand, the right hand, so no foul.
Here, oh, what a pass inside. Hero to Iguodala. Timeout, Milwaukee. Heat back by 8, trying to win the series. We step aside on TNT.
But he's settling for threes, too.
Yeah.
Like he's not putting any pressure on Miami.
Oh!
Good look at LeBron James. You know, no one to this point in their career at the age of 35 has played that many minutes at that age, and the Lakers are well within their rights to make sure that they use him in the proper moments. 2 of 4 preseason games, I get it, sitting on the sidelines.
Well, it's two factors in that. One, the extreme amount of dedication that a player like that makes to himself. 2, the advancements you found here in training technology, food, nutrition, everything like that in today's game that allows a player to benefit. I mean, when I came in, some of the stuff we ate and did was just crazy. We thought we were ahead of the curve. But now it's totally different across the board. There's no excuse not to be in tip-top prime-time shape at all times.
So you just took the cheese off the cheeseburger, and that was the healthiness. No mayo on the sandwich.
But what you did, you add a little water instead of having like a juice or a soda. You know, you may have had something different with less sugar. You know what I mean? Just compensated a little bit more. Iced everything. Everything was ice. Whatever happened, just ice. That's it.
Sugar was my only energy as Montrezl Harrell lays it on the other side to stop the Clipper run. Montrezl picks up Kawhi, misfires from above the arc. 24-17, Lakers out in front, but the Clippers making the moves of late. Horton Tucker, whistle, and a foul. Stops the clock, 3:18 to play here in this first quarter. He was very active. I was telling a great story until Jim interrupted it with facts. But he only took 30 shots all of last year. In preseason game number 1, he took 17. We don't need to go any further on that, Jim, as he makes good on the first of 2 free throws. This Thursday, the Clippers take on the Utah Jazz at their final preseason matchup. Complete coverage begins at 6:30 on Prime Ticket, Fox Sports San Diego, and streaming on Fox Sports Go. Jokes aside, he'll take a lot more than 30 shots this year. This guy, if I go out on a real limb, I think he's going to see some rotation minutes. Frank Vogel raves about him. You mentioned LeBron. Everyone is really behind Talen Horton-Tucker. He's got a great story as a backstory as well.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Any player like that in a situation where you see him taking shots and having confidence, it comes because the coaching staff trusts him. If you don't have the trust from the staff and then more particularly your teammates, then you won't have those opportunities.
Terrence Mann getting some first quarter minutes. Misses, but the former Laker Ivica Zubac lays it up and in. Count it, and a foul.
And how about just following up the shot? We saw this in the first game. The offensive rebounds here. A pick and roll inside, able to get on the inside of Quinn Cook. And once he was able to get the body in front, it was nothing that he could do it. Dudley just pushed Cook right into the back of Zoo.
Zubac gets up and down on the three-point play. Again, such a star in his role. I know that's a cliche, but he really was. I mentioned this back on Friday. The offense was at its best, and the defense was at its best when Ivica Zubac was on the floor.
Yeah, it may be a little bit different this year in regards to maybe Zoo coming off the bench, but it's not a slight.
Well, you made the great point as the Lakers just a few inside. Montrezl Harrell comes away with the rebound, gets it topside to Cook for 3, and knocks it in. But you made the good point. You talk about some of the defenders in that second unit. You'll have Ivica Zubac there to kind of help them in that area.
Well, when you have Lou Williams, probably Lou Kennard, and also Nicholas Batum, you're going to need backline support, okay, if they get beat off the dribble. So now you have that with Zubac in the middle. So that's a compliment to who you are in regards to your value.
Kuzma knocks down the 3 on the other side. Lou Williams hit the shot. He has not missed in the preseason. Speaking of Lou, here he is. He's hit all 4 of his shots. Lobs it to Zoo with the mismatch on Dudley, but misses at the rim, and Kuzma locks up the loose ball.
2 minutes remaining.
It was a low-scoring affair on Friday. Right now, the Lakers have 32 points with 2 minutes to play in this first quarter. It helps when you shoot 11 of 17.
Well, it also helps you when your opponent turns the ball over, you're able to get out and run. And that's something you want to do. And again, dribble penetration, Cook there, a little late on the closeout. Again, little things defensively, Clippers are going to hone in on once they get closer to the season.
7 made threes for the Lakers in this first quarter. It's official. Lou Williams is in midseason form. He is 5 for 5 here in the preseason.
Does he get out of midseason form?
No,
I mean,
no.
seriously, when you're a professional scorer, that just comes with the territory.
It's funny. You can talk to people all around the league, and that is the thing they call him, is a professional scorer. Horton-Tucker inside foul. They'll go to the line for 2.
You know, back in the day, it was a guy, Vinnie Johnson, microwave for Detroit. You just knew what it was when he came in the game. Other players have come in and kind of utilized that. Eddie Johnson, who played Seattle with Houston. But what Lou has been able to do, Jamal Crawford, those two, I mean, you're setting the bar extremely high. I mean, you're talking about 2 guys that no matter what, at any given time, any given circumstance, any team will be able to produce off the bench.
Clipper fans, myself included, have been spoiled. Jamal Crawford, then over to Lou Williams. We do have a treat for you coming up here in the second quarter. Your 1992 draft mate, Don McClain.
How about that, UCLA great?
He told me to refer to him as Mr. Pac-12 scoring champion.
No, let me tell you something. You're talking about somebody not afraid to shoot? Like Horton-Tucker? That was Don. Don was going to get his shots up. I mean, no matter what.
Zoo is fouled on the 3rd effort. We'll go back to the free throw line. It's always good to talk with Don McClain.
And some great UCLA teams back then, too. I mean, and that's when you see Zoo kind of getting himself lodged inside, where recruiting L.A. and California was huge for UCLA to get those top All-American players, McDonald's, to be and stay in the California area.
You can see the progression for Ivica Zubac. The numbers don't tell the tale. He's really, truly a film room all-star.
the little things. I get complimentary things that he does. Like you said, sometimes doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but when you look at any championship caliber team, it's always one or two players, guys that kind of do the little things that solidify what the superstars do, and he's one of them.
Lakers 37, Clippers 25. Cook lobs to Montrez, makes the grab, and lays it in. Montrez coming off the bench tonight, got the start in preseason game number 1. Lou Williams, and I'll say it again, remains perfect. Usually you don't want to say that it's like a no-hitter for a pitcher with Lou Williams. It doesn't matter. Good discipline there by Zubac to not block that shot, and it misses anyway.
Yeah, he wanted to go get it. He really was good at the end just to step back a little bit.
Good ball movement by the Clippers, but Lou Williams wants to slow things down. No 2-for-1 opportunity. Lou at the foul line, and I'll say it again. There's no jinx on this guy. He has hit all 7 of his shots. Is that right? I see a 4 or 5. Did he miss earlier? I'm going to say that was just a pass. I think he airballed one earlier. That was a pass. I don't think this stat monitor is correct. Don't let facts, Jim,
get in the way.
I told you, we're learning here.
Get in the way. I got you.
Kuzma, a guarded shot at the buzzer, doesn't fall. So the Lakers behind 7 3-pointers.
To switch it up.
We get back to action. I feel like I'm back in the 90s. I'm going to break out my Jodeci CDs, my Dakar Noir.
Come on,
I'm going to get some Crystal Pepsi out here.
Hey, listen, just come and talk to me, baby.
Terrence Mann knocks down to 3. Clippers trail by 7. You know, Don, you and I talked during the summer leading into the bubble. Empty arenas in NBA cities. Do you think that aids the shooting, much like you thought maybe it would in the bubble, as Kuzma is fouled going up for the shot? We've lost Don. Can you hear us, Don?
You didn't ask him if he could shoot and score. If you'd have asked him that kind of question about scoring, really scoring, he would have been there. What happened to Don?
I think he went to go get some rum and some cigars.
Smart.
You guys hear me now?
Now there we go. There we go.
Sorry about that. I was going to say about the arena. Without fans, it seems like it would be harder to shoot. Whereas in the bubble, it was a smaller venue, so that I thought made it easier to shoot. But empty, big arenas, 19,000 people, I think makes it more difficult to shoot because of the depth perception or lack thereof.
I agree with you. When I was in the bubble, it was more compacted. It felt like an AAU, feel like a smaller gym. Here now you can see, especially behind the baskets where the seats are customly normally there. See Lou Williams with a beautiful, once again, scores the ball. But it is different. I do believe over time players like Don will adjust. But I think near at the beginning of the season, it will be a little distraction by not having people behind us.
Well, and I would add to that, Jim, that the guys that can really shoot, that doesn't matter where they shoot. They could shoot in the middle of the O, it doesn't matter. But for guys that, are good shooters, decent shooters, I think it affects them.
Nice roll by Ivica Zubac and a nice feed by Terrence Mann.
Well, Terrence right there showing some of that playmaking ability. Again, having the size to see their defense able to lob it up to Zoo for an easy 2.
Tucker continues to impress. 12 for him.
Jim, I was going to ask you, it seems like this first game and quarter and a half to Clippers, it seems like there's going to be a little more structure offensively, some more play calls, more play sets. And I'm just wondering with the turnovers and the missed shots here early, is it because of that? That they're thinking too much about what play they're running, or is it just simply it's the preseason and guys aren't in rhythm yet?
A combination of both, but that's a great point by you because you've been able to cover the team and really see how this team operates offensively, and it does structurally look different in what they're running. And the trust factor has to come into account too, not having all the practice time to trust where you're going to be in situations. Where you're going to throw the ball, where you're going to get your shot, that still has to come.
Yeah, and like Ty Lue said after the game Friday night, they hadn't even put in their zone offense yet, and the Lakers zoned them the entire second half. So it's a process, and they'll get there. But new coaching staff, new players, you kind of expect some of this here early.
It's going to be interesting. I would almost look at the entire month of December as, I want to say preseason, but an extended training camp, even though you've got heavy hitters on the docket with the Lakers, the Denver Nuggets, and the Dallas Mavericks. The Clippers are going to take some lumps as they try to get everything, and Ivica Zubac finishing strong.
Well, look, let me tell you this, and you see, again, the professional scorer knocking a shot. Coach Lue said, listen, we got 3 or 4 sets that we're going to run in preseason. Okay, that's about it. Defensively, it's going to be real skeleton. Once you get into the nuts and bolts of the season, that's when you see the more intricate part, the more plays being run. And Don, as you know, that's when players kind of go to get into a rhythm.
Yeah, and you're in different spots. Maybe
yes.
You're getting shots in different areas, so you got to get used to that. But, I go back to last year in March. It wasn't so smooth the whole season, but by the time March rolled around, the Clippers had won 7 of 8, and they were rolling and healthy. Everything was looking good, and I expect the same formula this year.
Well, Clippers are rolling a little bit here this second quarter after trailing by as many as double figures. They've trimmed it down to single digits. Terrence Mann of the Clippers. Timeout on the floor.
Clock at 7. Working against Butler. Got downhill. Couldn't punch it. Bam says, get it out of here. Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection. Bio 1. Wow. A meeting at the summit, Doris.
That is a ridiculous defensive play. Jason Tatum is clearly by everybody else, high above the rim.
And claw to hang around. Adebayo flipping it up and in.
No, stop it.
That's 6'9". Adebayo, 6'9", 255. And that is a Steph Curry, Steve Nash, tiny Archibald finish.
No, Fitz, that's you back in Larkins Hall, back at Ohio State, when we were playing basketball.
Hero lobs it. Adebayo smashes it over DiVincenzo.
Excellent.
It's on Miami.
So Hero getting more and more confident as a playmaker, just tosses it up. He's coming to his right strong hand. He's like, okay, Giannis has come to me. I know the read to make. Just beautiful execution. Help it.
But you had 2 compliments now from Don McClain.
That's my guy. Same grab pass. But to back up what he said about Lue, one thing you got to take into account. No one can speed him up. He plays at his own pace.
Yep. Late in the clock for the Clippers. George for 3. Over the top of the backboard and out of bounds. That is his first miss. We can document that one for sure. I'm not sure about Lou Williams. Lou is 6 of 7 from the field. Clippers trail by 8. Trail by as many as 14 here in this first half.
Interesting lineup Coach Lue has on the lineup with Zubac and Patterson. Patterson kind of guarding out on the perimeter a little bit.
I think it's going to be interesting to watch this year, Jim Zubac, and his continued development. He really came on in the bubble, came back in great condition. He was affecting the game on both ends. He was running the court. But some matchups bothered him a little bit, and I'm wondering if he will evolve even more, getting out to the three-point line, being able to guard that, being able to keep guards in front of him on the perimeter, because if he does that, then you're really talking about something. And I'm saying that when you already got something and how effective he was in the restart in Orlando.
Does it change at all, Don, if he potentially comes off the bench this year?
I actually like it better off the bench, Brian. Here's the reason why. You want your bench guys to bring in energy. And if you're down, get back in the game. If you're up, extend the lead. And that takes energy, intensity, and that's exactly what Zubac does. I mean, his job is so simple. It's play hard, rebound, run, rim protect. And if you score, great. But those 3 things, he could really affect the game and be the anchor on that back line with that second unit.
Clippers turn it over. Horton Tucker. And the Lakers lead by 10. They're shooting 63%. That will plummet a little bit there. Montrezl Harrell misses inside.
Example 1A right there.
Yep.
Trez tries to spin and score. Zubac goes after it, doesn't get it, but he gets him to miss.
Well, Don, but I think you said something, I think that was kind of people miss. Simple. keep it simple. The game of basketball is really simple. Somebody's open, you pass it. If you have a shot, you shoot it. The ball goes up, you rebound it. Sometimes we tend to complicate it, wanting a little bit more. When you understand who you are as a player, now effectively you can be the best at what you do. And I think Zubac has an opportunity to do that. He's going to be an anchor defensively on that second unit, and you can take a lot of pride in it.
That's right, Jim. And championship teams have defined roles. Everybody knows what their job is and what they're supposed to do. And I think, as Brian was saying, as this team evolves through the month of December, those roles will become clear. And by the time we get to the playoffs, everybody's going to understand what needs to be done to win a championship.
Horton Tucker with 16 first-half points for the Lakers, who lead by 9. George slaloms his way down in slow motion, misses Gasol with the rebound. Markieff Morris picked up by Pat Beverly. Goes into a double team and then draws the foul.
I really like, you guys, and I know it's early. It's only a game and almost a half, but I really like what's been added to this group. I think it becomes more dynamic. I think they become more flexible, more versatile with lineups and combinations they can use. I think Ibaka is the key, as well as Luke Kennard. I think both those guys just add more to what the Clippers had last year, and that's no disrespect to those guys that were here, but I just think with their skill set, they add more to what the Clippers can do offensively.
Well, speaking of that, last year they averaged 116 points, so scoring the ball wasn't an issue. But with the kind of remake with the new faces, how do you see their offense, like you talked about March, in regards to how devastating it could ultimately become?
Well, listen, Jim, as productive as Trez was, he wasn't a guy that could space the floor. And right on cue, Ibaka shooting a three. But I think that's really important to open up lanes for PG and Kawhi. If you have a guy that's only playing in the paint on the block, sometimes there's no space for driving. And I think Ibaka really adds that element. And I think Kennard is going to make more shots than Landry Shamet did. I love Landry Shamet as a player and how hard he worked, but I think Kennard's a better shooter than him. So now, when we get to the playoffs, you got to really account for a guy like Kennard.
Yep. With size, too, at 6'5".
Yeah.
I also felt that Kennard's playmaking ability may be a step ahead of Landry Shamet. I agree with you. We love Landry. He was terrific for the Clippers. He will do great things for the Nets, but I'm very optimistic about Luke Kennard. Whistle and a foul on the floor.
He's so underrated, Brian, as a playmaker. Kennard, as you see PG making a play for Ibaka. You know, he's really good screen roll. I had him pre-draft 3 years ago. Yeah. He and Donovan Mitchell were in the same draft class, and those two for 6 weeks went at each other. And I'm not saying Kennard's on the level of Mitchell yet, but pre-draft they were very similar. And I think Kennard will show as this season goes along. He's not just a catch-and-shoot guy. He's great in screen roll. He's got a high basketball IQ, and he will be playing major minutes by the time we get to the playoffs.
I'm sorry, Kawhi in transition, but Don, how much does it benefit him? Again, a lot of people haven't seen Luke play because Detroit not on national TV. But his game in general, you had a chance to see him pre-draft. Now playing with the superstars and the talent around him and the coaching, how does that help elevate his offensive game?
Well, that's why I mentioned the IQ, Jim. He'll figure it out. Like, he's a guy, and that's what's so important. There's guys like, J.J. Redick and Korver. Those guys are catch-and-shoot guys. Kennard's not that. You can put him in screen roll, as I said. You can pin down for him. But he will find a way to fit in with the star players in whatever combination of lineup he's in. Because he's got a lot in the bag, he's got a big toolbox.
Right.
I think he's going to be able to adapt to whatever's asked him, and that's what I was saying earlier about the role definition. He will have a role by the time this Clipper team really gets rolling.
A lot of people, Don, think that Luke Kennard in high school was maybe the greatest high school player of all time. A lot of people are talking about that, Don.
Was there any other good Ohio high school players?
Well, it was LeBron. That was, it's a big gap after that.
Let me explain something, Don. This is how language is. A lot is relative to the person saying it. So a lot of people, meaning Brian, means one. You understand what I'm saying?
So we got the
relativity.
We've got Fountain of Youth advice, and now we're getting linguistics advice from you, Jim. This is an educational quarter.
I came here to be educated, guys.
Aristotle, what you want, bro? I'm all there.
I feel smarter in just the 7 minutes in this second quarter.
Hey, Brian, listen, hang with me a little bit more. I'm going to have you reading a lot of philosophy and having a cigar and some rum.
This is going to be good. Don, I hope you're jotting down some notes as well.
I am. Aristotle's above my pay grade, though. I can't get to that level.
You see a good look at Pat Beverly. Kyle Kuzma will go to the free throw. Big year for Kyle Kuzma and the Lakers. Extension looming. Haven't heard any chatter about it. It'll be interesting to see what the Lakers do. They've committed salary clearly to LeBron, obviously Anthony Davis, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Who knows with Horton Tucker what they're going to do with him. He is going to see minutes this year. He's going to get a lot of attention as well.
Well, his game, Horton Tucker, is a little bit more dynamic than Kyle because of his ball handling creativity. Kyle is more of the guy that you're going to put on the court. Slasher, cuts, rebounds, runs the court, second shots, and can hit some spot-up jump shots. So it's totally two different, Don, would you say, dynamics when you look at those two players?
Yeah, I think Horton Tucker's going to have the ball in his hands more. He's going to lead the break. He's going to be in drag screens, early offense type of stuff where Kuzma's more of a run, catch and shoot. He can drive it, but he's not a screen roll guy. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see what Kuzma's or what is Kuzma's market, because if his market is really high, I don't think the Lakers can re-sign him. So that's going to be fascinating to watch how much money he's going to want in free agency if he gets there.
Batum fouled late in the clock by Gasol. Don, we've talked about Kennard. We've talked about Serge Ibaka. Jim and I have mentioned Batum. I'm curious to get your thoughts. I don't think he's going to be a prolific stat guy, but I think he's going to be as important as anybody on the floor for the Clippers, especially in that second unit.
Well, listen, he's been in Charlotte for a while, and we know Charlotte hasn't won a ton, so you wonder if this situation rejuvenates Nicholas Batum. I mean, he's always been a long wing defender, can guard multiple positions. So I think he's going to be recharged and a factor for this Clipper team, especially come playoff time, Jim. He just adds to the versatility and the flexibility of all these lineups the Clippers can throw out there.
Well, we don't have to go any further. Look what the Lakers did last year. Rondo was a utility guy that made shots. Pope was a utility guy that made shots. Yes, LeBron and AD did their thing, but those ancillary assets contribute to why the Lakers are so tough to beat. Hence, we're talking about the same thing with the Clippers and their addition.
Here is Batum after the turnover. Great hustle back by Kuzma. Better follow by Kawhi Leonard. And the Clippers, after trailing by as many as 14, now cut the lead down to 3.
And off the block, easy way to get a basket. Clippers in shouting distance. Probably, Don, you would say one of the best has ever done it in college?
I mean, in terms of winning, absolutely. And did you know, Brian probably knows this, on draft night, traded to the Clippers. I was. And then I was so good in preseason workouts, they traded me to the Bullets before camp started.
But that was back in the day of kings and queens and guillotines. I would imagine you were rather relieved by that back in 1992 versus to where the Clippers are now.
Yeah, what's crazy about back then, Jim, and you can add to this too, is that there was no rookie scale contract. You could get a 10-year contract if you wanted.
Not me. I couldn't. I remember I was a holdout because the Mavericks didn't want to pay me, remember?
That's
my market value.
That's right. Speaking of the Mavericks, in Reunion Arena back then,
yes.
And you and Jamal Mashburn, the tandem you guys were.
Yeah, and I tell people this story all the time about the Mavericks back then real quick. A lot of stories are hurled around about why we broke up. I said, listen, in my 5.5 years I was there, and Clippers fans can understand, is I had 4 different coaches, 3 different owners. So there was no stability at all whatsoever. Forget all the other noise and talk about stuff like that. It was, and that's what I think the ownership here group is talking about, being stable, signing players to long-term deals. Coaches are going to be here. Now you develop that whole chemistry within from top to bottom.
Leonard backs down on Kuzma.
It all starts at the top, you guys, and you know that with ownership in any sport. And the Clippers have one of the best owners in sports, and I think that him, the minute he came in here is when everything started to get stable and start to win, and it's continued, and I think it's going to continue for a long time.
Jim and I talked about it the other night as Leonard Probes into the paint. They go back inside to Kawhi. Challenge. They get Ibaka, beg your pardon, a whistle and a foul. And we talked about it, Don. It's his willingness to allow basketball people to make basketball decisions that will put this franchise where they want to go.
And I heard you guys earlier before I came on talking about, previous off seasons and what needed to happen. I've never seen a plan executed to get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard here like that. The moves they made, the things that had to be done to create the space and the roster spots, I guess, to get those guys here was unbelievable to see that thing unfold. And they accomplished it. But you're right, Brian. I mean, it's the basketball people that put that plan together, and they executed it, and Steve Ballmer trusted them to do it.
They don't seek out the attention, but I'm going to give it to him. Lawrence Frank, Michael Winger, Mark Hughes, Trent Redmond. And then there's that guy, Jerry West. He's got a future.
Who's that?
He's got a future in this business.
Can we keep him around for a while?
I'll tell you what, it is really an all-star crew. They are all together in lockstep. They challenge each other. They understand the other side, and they come together and make great decisions. They haven't gotten to where they want to be, but they're getting there.
But the start is there. Ibaka right here fighting with his former teammate. But here's the thing, too. You take it a step further. If you look at Miami, ownership group, San Antonio, owners who allowed their personnel to stay consistent in regards to management and allow them to do their job. So what you have is consistency throughout the year. You may not win it every year, but what you are, you're competitive. You're able to rebuild when you need to do some things. And that's owners kind of taking their egos out of it and saying, I hired smart people for a reason, go and do your thing.
Well, that's a great point, Jim. And you just mentioned two organizations that whenever you talk about them, the word culture comes up.
Yep.
And so that's what it creates, is a culture of a way of doing things. And it starts again at the top, and it trickles down through the GM and the personnel people. And you sustain it. If you have the right people in place, it just stays. And Miami Heat and the San Antonio Spurs have been good for a long time because of that.
It doesn't hurt to have Pat Riley and R.C. Buford as well calling the shots. Here's Batum as the Lakers have the lead balloon back to 6. Batum draws the foul for Morris, and he'll go to the line for a couple.
One of my favorite things that I'm probably going to miss this year, hopefully not for the whole year, is being part of this Clipper broadcast, is getting the opportunity to talk to Jerry West when he's here before the game. I learn something every time I talk to him.
Well, it's unbelievable. We talked about this the other game. With analytics, kind of running and driving everything, you still need the person that has the eyes, that have the feel.
Yep.
And Jerry West is one of those people where even though time has evolved, he hasn't gotten left behind.
Jim, I don't know how many times I've been talking to him, and I feel like I know the game. I've been around it a long time as a player and doing this and everything, and I feel like I got a pretty good handle on it. Every time I talk to him, he says something that I go, I've never thought that, and I've never seen that. But you're right.
Whistle, loose ball foul, stops the clock, under 2 minutes to play. Don and I were doing pre and post game during the playoffs, and how Don was talking about how he's always enlightened by Jerry West. I was sitting next to Don after Kawhi Leonard made a great play, and he turns to me and he says, that Kawhi Leonard's good at basketball, and I'll never forget it to this day. I will never forget it.
Was that the profound moment right there when you just knew?
The light went off, and I said, man, this guy, Don McClain.
They don't get more profound than me, Brian.
I tell you what. You must have angered somebody at Fox, because you just had a hip replacement. You're joining us here in person in the second quarter. You were there in the pregame, and now you're going back for the postgame as well. We're lucky to have you here in the second quarter.
I got to get this hip back in shape, man. I limped for so long. I'm still progressing on that. So the more walking, the better for me.
Montrezl Harrell, there you see what he did last year for the Clippers. And again, you mentioned culture. He was part of that culture shift with Pat Beverly and Lou Williams. 2 to play in this first half. Lakers got off to a great start from above the arc. Had 7 threes in the first quarter. They have only taken 1 so far in the second.
I wonder, Brian, if the Clippers played 18 players on Friday night. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case tonight, that the rotation's going to shorten and get the rotational guys more minutes, unless it's just a first half thing and then the other guys are going to play more in the second half. But I think you need to progress through this preseason with guys playing together, different combinations, so that they get used to playing with different guys.
It was first half minutes only on Friday for Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the like. As Leonard rattles in the free throw. Kawhi tonight with 10 points and a couple of assists. The word around camp is that Kawhi has just been in great spirits, just very jovial. He talked about it after the game, a loss against the Lakers on Friday. Asked if he was having any fun. He said, yeah, I always have fun playing basketball.
Well, the challenge is ahead of him. Why not embrace it with that enthusiasm, knowing that you can accomplish something special? You know, you learn from your failures, you learn from your disappointments, and, you know, they retool not just physically, but I think mentally from last year.
Yeah, and on top of that, though, Jib, he's done it. I mean, he's won championships. Yep. So not only has he won, now he has the disappointment of last year and how he can fix it and what needs to be done to get to the finals and try and win a championship again.
Former Clipper Jared Dudley to inbound. Gives it to former Clipper Montrezl Harrell, who misses. A foul on Serge Ibaka. Montrezl will go back to the free throw line. I'm curious, Don, to get your take. One of the things I thought that the Lakers had that was so challenging to everybody in the league defensively was the length. And I thought that really helped their transition offense. They were one of the league leaders in points off of turnovers. They were one of the league leaders in deflection. They don't have that length, but they've beefed up the offense. Your take on the Lakers with their off-season moves? I think they were very good. Just curious to see what you think after it kind of affects their length.
Yeah, you wonder if they'll be down a tick defensively, but it's always you know, give and take. Or if you're better offensively, does that make up for you being down a tick defensively? We're going to find out. But I do think overall people think that Gasol's going to be a factor. Schroeder's going to be a factor for him. Trez, obviously, with his motor and how he plays. But you're right. I don't think I can answer that question. I'd be interested to hear your take, Jim, but I think we need to see. I'm not sure if they are going to be better. I mean, less defensively or not. We kind of figure they're going to be better offensively.
Well, and it's a trade-off, too, because offense, now look, the part of what you have with Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee was you had security. You know, as a perimeter player, you can push up. If you got beat, you had, you know, the trees in the background to, you know, take care of them. You don't have that now. So, Don, I think what's going to happen and have to take place is going to be more emphasis on one-on-one defense on the perimeter. You can't get broken down off the dribble, because if you do that now, it opens up three-point shots or they can get to the rim. So it's going to be interesting to see how that transition to more offense, maybe not the defensive side, is going to take place.
Dwight Howard was a factor in the bubble defensively, especially down the stretch in the playoffs. So they're going to miss that. So does it become more on the shoulders of AD to be a backline rim protector? I think he's going to have to make up for what they lost in McGee and Howard. You're right.
It's interesting you say that. Wesley Matthews, who's a very good defender, said he's got to change his mentality now because he's not the guy to have to shut it down. He said he is ushering them towards Anthony Davis and LeBron James. He said his role defensively will change this year. The Clippers look to get out and run, but give it right back to the Lakers.
Guess who?
Yeah.
Guess who?
Horton Tucker throws it down. He's having quite a preseason 18 for him.
Well, another turnover. Again, the live ball turnovers by the Clippers, when you're not set, quickly turn into transition points for the Lakers.
Clippers had 25 turnovers on Friday. They have just 7 right now as we close in the final moments of the second quarter.
So what's going to happen, guys, if the Clippers play the Lakers in the playoffs and Ibaka's out there shooting threes? Who's going to guard him?
Exactly.
Now you're pulling AD out there, and now there is no rim protection again.
Yep. If you go with the small lineup and that's the versatility I think we have in the Clippers lineup when you have any Ibaka. Now, basically, you have 4 shooters on the court, and if Patrick Beverly happens to be hot in that lineup, now how do you guard that, you know, consistently?
Late in the clock, runner for Beverly. No, oh, what a follow by Serge Ibaka. And the Clippers will get a 2-for-1 here. They trail 67-63. We have Don on loan from the pre-half and poached festivities. We'll say goodbye to Don after this quarter ends. It's a great
fun
chat with him. It's always fun to talk with Don McClain.
Good talking to you, Don.
Fun chopping it up with you guys. We'll do it
always,
again,
brother.
Remember, Don, rum and cigars.
That's right. I'm going to the store after the postgame show.
Hey, get there before, you know, they close a little early tonight, so get there early, brother.
Close out the half. It doesn't fall, but a high score.